Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crack the Egg. We are on episode 6. Can you believe that already?
It seems like both so much time has passed since we started this, but that's probably just because it's been a bad school year. But also, like, it feels like we're still starting, like in the very early stages.
It really does feel in the early stages, and we've been consistent with our posting schedule, but like in terms of when we record is so off. So I feel like we haven't recorded in forever.
For real. And then, like, even when I think about it too, like, the next time we record probably won't be for a minute, other than the episode we're doing right after this one.
Yes,
Um,
we will be doubly recording today. So
yes.
while you will have to wait to hear the second episode, we will be one right after the other today.
Very efficient. But that's what happens when we both have a market on the same day. So,
Yep. So today we're going to be talking to Adriana about her latest market. But before we get started, what are you working on?
I am currently on a tofu turtle craze. I decided I wanted to add a new color to my rotation. I normally have blue and green, and I wanted to have more of a so to say, like girly color. And so I've decided to start making them in purple. I previously made purple turtles before, when I was using a different pattern. But I don't know what it is, but something about making these in this new color situation is really like scratching an itch in my brain. And so I've been really enjoying making this color so far. I'm not sure how they're going to do at markets or anything like that, but I figured it'd be good to add a little bit more of a variety in the color options. And so I also just love the pattern because I have it all up here for the most part. So, yeah. What are you working on?
Um, I just started a wolf from Mom Stitch Eddie. My next show will be at a bigger Comic Con with bigger guests, including the cast of Twilight. So there will be some wolves in the building, literal and movie related. There's going to be a wolf something there. Oh my gosh. It's called Wildfell Wolves, I think. They first came last October. So Sci-Fi has a spring show and a fall show that they just started last year, the fall show. I think it was right after a hurricane down south. Um, so they brought the wolves up as like a um oh my God.
Like to
What's
evacuate them?
no, not to like a educational thing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And like to raise money, like to help out from the disaster and stuff.
Mm,
So they're coming back. They have an owl. They brought one owl. They walked him around actually the top floor when it was just the vendors, which was really cool. And then they had definitely two uh I'm gonna say dogs, but one I think is a hybrid, and then one was a pure wolf.
that's insane. Are these just
Yeah.
like leashed walking around the place, or are they like
They
enclosed
were
sitting
in
area?
they were in cages like where they have their setup. But they were out pretty much the whole time because you could get photo opportunities with them.
Holy cow. I don't know if that's something I would sign up for. I like to think of myself as an adventurous person, but I don't know. Something about that.
I think I'm gonna like
Go
I
for
really thought about it last time, but I thought too much about it and I kept like talking myself out of it. But I think Dave's going to be with me this time. He wasn't last time. And I think I'm going to try to talk him into getting both of us with all of them, with
sure.
the owl and the dogs, wolves. So that's fun. So,
Owl would be cool for sure.
yeah, he was cool when he came up to to our level. So yeah, I'm going to make some wolves and see how they do at this show.
That's really sick about like the Twilight cast. That was like I think I think the first movie came out when I was in sixth grade. So that was like my late elementary, junior high, and a little bit in high school too, because I think the last movie came out when I was in 10th grade. Um, so it feels very like nostalgic to talk about Twilight. I haven't watched the movies, I think, in since the last one came out, but that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. So before we get into debriefing your market, do you want to give the people an update on your status with the hive?
Sure. So, we're still selling things.
That's good.
Yeah, unfortunately, no loveys have sold so far, and so
Really?
I'm really disappointed about it because, like, that's my, I don't know, like, those are the things, like, I feel the most proud of because I put so much work into them, and, like, I feel like they kind of show off a little bit more skill than, like, what it takes to, like, make these turtles, for example. I don't know. And they're also, I mean, the higher price point item. And so when I
Mhm.
sell them, it's a pretty big deal. But I only have the minis up there. Like I don't have the full size littles. So I thought maybe they would be more likely to sell because they are already a lower price point than the littles. But really my big sellers up there have been the turtles and the loaf cats. I don't think I've sold a pig yet. I did sell, I think, one egg. And so it's really interesting because it seems like they come in like fits and spurts. Like it isn't like spread out like one item like a day. It feels like whenever I see a notification like for a turtle or for a cat, usually another one comes a little bit later in the day. I do need to correct myself from the last episode. I said they were open 5 days a week. They are actually open every day of the week. So, it is good that that number, I mean, that's a lot of hours in a week, way more than I could physically actually do myself with markets. Um, I think for going forward, I'm probably going to need to maybe make an adjustment as far as the levies go. I mean, it's only been like I have to give myself grace. I've only been up there in terms of like when the store's been open 3 weeks. So I don't think it's official like time yet to make a permanent decision as far as like whether I'm going to keep adding loveys or maybe do I focus more on smaller plushies that I have. But yeah, I think it's steady. I'm still obviously in the green for the month as far as the rent goes, which is a good thing. So my next restock is going to be next Saturday. My friend Caroline and I were going on a little road trip, and so we're gonna go up to the Hive so I can do a quick restock, and then we're going to go down through Lancaster. We have a couple places we want to stop. There's like this cat cafe that recently opened, and she's a cat person. I'm not a cat person myself, but I'm a Caroline person, so I will go and take her, and then we'll do some other adventures, probably do some shopping at for antiques or vintage stuff, as that's something we like to do together, and so I'm looking forward to that.
That's good. And like you haven't hit any holidays yet, right? For the hive,
I mean, I guess you could say
like big
Mother's
ones.
Day, but
Mhm.
like not. Easter was over before the store opened. And I would assume most of my stuff aren't really things you would get for Mother's Day anyway. They're more for kids, I think.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, I don't know if like Memorial Day or Labor Day or the 4th of July would like increase, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're usually like when stores have big sales on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it'd be interesting to see how you do through like a holiday.
Yeah, and I know like we got information this week about like if we ever want to put our booth on sale, like what the process for that is. So I'm currently debating like do I
Oh,
do
doing a sale. Okay.
yeah. Do I do like a little bit of a sale, like 15% off or whatever at a certain time frame? I don't really know if Memorial Day makes sense to do it then or I don't know, maybe in June for like a summer sale or whatever. Part of it's also like the strategy of like I go to Germany in at the end of June for 2 weeks and then I'm home for a day and then I go to Florida for 4 days. So having some cash money would be very helpful for those adventures. So I might do something for June and then maybe that's how I sell some loveys. But it's hard when it's crochet because like we've talked about this before, I'm part of the entire process. And I guess that's the case anytime you run a sale on handmade, you're cutting into your margins a bit. And I try, contrary to some belief, I try to price in a way that is both fair to me and the customer as best as I can. And so that gets to be a little bit more one-sided when you run sales and stuff. But at the end of the day, too, like if that sale incentivizes someone to shop and then maybe they shop again later when things aren't on sale, then it's worth it in the long run.
That's cool. The thunder is really picking up here, and I'm just like watching out my back windows to see if we see any like lightning hit.
Yeah, it officially looks like it's over here. Like the really scary dark clouds have gone away, but yeah, for a minute it looked kind of terrifying outside.
It sounds it on my roof.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's get started. When was your market?
I need to preface this before we go into it. I'm really sorry, people. I am not gonna be in the greatest of attitudes.
He's salty.
I really am. Like and it's not just at it's at a group of people like there's a lot of people who are probably going to catch strays in this episode and I sorry not sorry for that. There's a lot of I have a lot of pent up rage. And I thought that maybe by now because it's been almost a week I'd be a little bit more calmed down and I think I'm calmed down a little calmed down in the sense that I can be a little bit more articulate about my feelings, but I'm still quite I have a very sour taste in my mouth and it hasn't gone away. So just need to get that out there. So I really do apologize for my negativity. This is not the type of person I like being, but unfortunately it is necessary. So
But it's like it happens to
right.
all vendors, makers, whatever. So like it's good to get this perspective.
Yeah, and I think that can be reassuring because I think sometimes on social media it can seem like every other person is having a way better market than you always. And it's just it's not the case at all. So, and it's part of the nature of this beast because you can't predict this stuff as much as we would like to and
Mhm.
so yeah, so the market was this past Saturday, May 10th.
Great.
Yeah.
And who hosted it?
It was at Moondancer Winery, which is a really big, popular winery in this area. Um, they've been in the news quite a lot over the last year because there's this whole dispute with one of their neighbors as far as like the land. They've been shut down a couple times because of judge orders and stuff, and it's not through any fault of their own. It's a family that moved in long after the winery had been in existence and has a problem, I guess, with the traffic or the shared driveway or some situation. So anyway, so they have like a lot of community support too as a result of this. And I think normally it's a busy winery, but especially lately, I think it's been even busier. So I vended with them last year for the first time, so this was a return market for me. And so I went into it also too with really high expectations because last year it was my best show ever up until I had my true best show ever in August. And so I went into it thinking, wow, this is gonna go even better. I have more stuff now. Some of my stuff is better quality than what it was back then. I had some more variety in certain areas. So I had really high expectations. That was a mistake, but that's okay.
Other than the high expectations, what were your feelings going into the show? Like, were you excited? Were you looking forward to it?
I was really excited because the vibes were so good last year. I mean, it's not super far away. I got to meet some really cool vendors last year that I've seen at markets since then. I I mean, I had a really good feeling about it. I figured also too, it was the day before Mother's Day, so people are going to be taking their moms out probably. And so I figured, there's going to be good traffic. So I really was pumped. I looked forward to it wholeheartedly, and especially when the weather was planned to be so nice. Um, so I felt really good about it going into it.
So was this, it was at a winery, but was it indoors or outdoors?
So it was outdoor, but there were essentially two parts of the market. It was all in the same area, but you had a section where it was you could sign up to be in your own canopy, and then they have this huge tent that you could also choose to be under. There was no price difference as far as which one you picked. It was the same either way. And so last year I did it under the tent, and I really liked that experience, so I signed up for that part again, and so that was what I did.
Did you post any pictures about with your setup?
I posted them to my stories. I did not end up making a reel like to post to my feed. Mostly because I was so pissed off when I left there. So
I
yeah.
don't remember seeing your setup for this one.
Yeah, I posted it to stories. It was just a straight if you walked up to my booth on the left-hand side, you had the grid wall, then you had the table, and then you had the wooden plant stand. I didn't have like a U shape or anything like that. Based on how the one vendor next to me was set up, it wasn't going to be conducive to do a U shape for either one of us, so I just went with that. There was enough space for it, and it worked.
So how much space did you have?
I think if I remember correctly, we were supposed to have a 10 by 10 space. I mean, if you were outside, you definitely did because they had the canopies. I don't know that us under the tent had a 10 by 10 space when all was said and done, but it didn't, honest to goodness, did not matter to me anyway because of how I chose to lay out the space. So it was fine.
And how long was it?
It was 12 to 5, so 5 hours.
That's not terrible for you being in
No.
such a rotten mood about it.
Yeah, it was nice. Like, I probably would have been even worse if it was like a 9 to 2 situation or whatever, and I had to wake up at, 5 in the morning. At least for this market, I got to sleep in a little bit. Um, so I was at least a little bit more rested than what I would have been under normal circumstances. So it was just probably, I would say, based on how sales went, it was an hour too long.
Did they have a theme or was it just like
Just a general spring makers market.
cool? Is that a winery? Um, who organized it? Was it the winery or was it someone who like rented out the
Nope.
space?
It was the winery themselves. They put on different events throughout the year. I believe this is their only like official makers market that they do in the year. I think normally how it works like for their other events is like there are specific themes to it. Like I want to say they've had fundraisers where they have vendors come and things like that, but this is like their explicit makers market.
Okay. Did you prepare anything especially for this show?
There weren't any like holidays or anything that I thought made sense to make cute stuff for. And
Just your regular
yeah, I just kept with
market stuff.
my normal rotation.
Was there anything when you did it previously? Was there like a bestseller maybe that you were like These sold well here last time. Maybe it'll do so again.
Lovies. I
Lovely.
forget how many I ended up selling that day. I want to say of the physical loveys I had, I sold three or four that day, and then I got
Last year?
yeah, and
Okay.
then I got custom orders for two more that day as well.
Okay.
Um, so I highly expected those to be more popular. And spoiler alert, I didn't sell one.
That was
So,
my next question.
yep, didn't
I
sell.
get that though. I totally get it.
And again, that's like the nature of the beast. It doesn't matter if you go to the same exact market the next year, you can't predict it. Like you just don't know.
Nope.
You just can't know.
Nope. It's impossible.
Hmm.
Wouldn't it be so great though if we could?
Oh my gosh. I probably if I could predict what people were gonna buy, I probably wouldn't have to teach. Let's be honest.
It would be amazing.
I seriously, like I wouldn't have to even think about it and I'd go and have a common market every market. Like it's just you can't.
Well, now that you said that word, we're gonna explain to the people listening. If you don't know what a comma market is,
Hmm.
it is a market where you hit $1,000 and up.
Uh,
Simple as that.
yeah. I haven't had one yet, but Jess has probably had like 20. So, but that's the goal for this year is to have one. I was very close last year. I know it can happen again. Or like it can actually happen. But we'll see. We're still waiting.
You'll do it.
It'll happen.
uh, did you have any new patterns that you've been making that you brought to this show?
That's a good question. I did have a pattern test that I did
Okay.
for Trip Bay Crochet. It was a it's a free pattern on Instagram, so if you're a crocheter, go check it out. It's pork chop. So it's a pig wearing the outfit that is worn for karate. So it's super cute. It did get compliments at the market, did not sell, but it did get compliments. Um, so I think that was really the only quote unquote new pattern. I did bring some loveys in sizes I haven't made before. So I had never made the Dino Lovey in the mini size. I had two of those. I had never made the mini lovey size for the frog. I had that too. But in terms of like true new stuff, it would just be pork chop.
Okay. Have you sold Anchor yet? I feel like you would have told me.
No, I'm telling you, I was this close. The lady was at my booth for probably 5 minutes, going back and forth on it. I forget what relationship was between her and the person she was gonna gift it to, but like she checked when their birthday was. It was gonna be May 31st, and like she was like this close, but ultimately I
Oh
didn't see
no.
her again. So it was the closest I've been. Like, I mean, she was so complimentary too of like my work and she was asking like if I have an online store and I was like, no, like just with the demands of teaching, I couldn't keep up with that. And she's like, well, if you ever do, like, and you need help with shipping, let me know. So she was super nice. So, and I can't fault her. I know the Anchor is salty as far as price goes, but it has to be. So,
Yeah, for real.
yeah,
Takes too long.
for real.
Did you have a goal at this show?
Um, to do better than the last one, I would say was probably the goal in mind. So the last show I made 400 something. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I had hoped to do better. Another spoiler alert, I did not.
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
What was the crowd situation?
Um, You had a pretty decent variety. No teenagers, pretty much, I would say. That's not super uncommon. And like at a winery, I would expect the crowd to either be like 40 somethings with little kids running around or um like older people. There was at least one bachelorette party. Um, But I think a lot of people that showed up to the winery weren't necessarily there for the market. They were there just to be like on the ground. It's if you've never been to Moon Dancer, it is like a truly beautiful venue. It overlooks the Susquehanna River. And the like winery itself, it like reminds you of like a almost like a castle. And they have all this like green lawn that you can sit on, and their wine is like genuinely good. And so it's just like a really beautiful area. So I think a lot of people were coming just to enjoy that and probably not so much the market. Yeah.
Did you have any of the wine you were raving about?
I did not have that specific wine. Again, mostly because I was not in a good mood. But I did end up getting, they had wine slushies. That like put some hair on my chest, if I'm being honest. Only because I'm not a big wine drinker normally, so like I find it to be very strong. And I'm not a big fan of like that overpowering effect it has on me. But it was good. I wouldn't drink it regularly, but it was good.
Was there a lot of people in general, like for the show and not, or was it kind of sparse?
I think it was a decent turnout, all things considered. I have a couple different reasons why I think the market went why it did, but we can get into that
You can
later.
get into it.
Yeah.
How much did you pay for your space?
$50.
Okay, that's not terrible.
No, I think it was fine. And now, granted, this isn't like an event that is well marketed. So it's not like they don't do like the vendor previews and stuff like that that you'll see. But the Facebook event itself, because of how well known the winery is, it had almost 2,000 people marked as interested. Now, that obviously doesn't mean 2,000 people necessarily came, but
Right.
I mean, their parking lot was packed. Like, they were having to park people in this like back lot that's probably like a, I don't know, 3, 4 minute walk from the winery. So the place was definitely busy. It just wasn't necessarily busy in the sense of sales.
Okay.
And it wasn't just me, by the way. Like, I want to throw that out there when we talk about that. It was slow for everybody.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I have been dying to do this episode because of text messages that you sent me.
Oh gosh.
But we've been talking so much, I don't remember where it is.
Um,
We talked about Joanne so much.
Oh yeah. Jess and I both in the last 24 hours went to Joann since they have 20-pound polyfill boxes for 29.99. We both went and got 3 boxes each. Because that's all that would fit in our cars.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm relieved that I didn't get more or like my timing sucked. On my way back to the car from the store, a monsoon came out of nowhere and I was immediately soaked and the boxes were soaked. And I sent Adrianna a picture of what the inside of my car looks like with the polyfill boxes of blue and red paint on them. So wet cardboard. The paint is now all over the inside of my car. Whatever, it's fine. I
It's
have a
also
lot
like
of
there's
polyfill now.
yeah, well, and they're so awkward to carry too. I was hardcore. If you saw me at Joann yesterday, no, you didn't. Like, it was so awkward trying to carry them out of the store, and like the way the entrance at my Joann is set up, like there's not a lot of space for walking in and out, and they don't have automatic doors. Like, you have to physically pull
Oh,
them.
ooh.
So I was hardcore struggling, trying to get those 3 boxes out.
I brought my own cart.
That was a smart decision. If I would have been smart, I would have brought my wagon. But
Well, I know how big the 20-pound boxes are, and that
hmm
they don't have, they're like the only one that doesn't have the cutouts on the side where you can like carry them.
hmm
So they're very awkward. So I was like, I know I'm gonna get at least two.
Right.
And they don't fit in the shopping carts. So just
Yeah.
bring my own like cart.
Yeah.
So I found the text.
Mm.
You said I have some major tea to spill. I'm all for it.
So that tea is now evolved into a couple different things. So
Oh boy.
it's not, well, just because like now I like hearing from other vendors that were at different markets on Saturday, like there's a lot other complexities to the day. But the tea that I was specifically referring to was a customer interaction. I think I distinctly remember one episode saying that I had never had a customer try to with me before, and I was an idiot because I didn't knock on wood because guess what? That happened on Saturday. So, and it put a really like it just it made the day even worse than what it already was. And so, so this guy
Hold
and
on. What led up to that being like making it worse?
just like
Was it just the sales?
yeah, like the sales.
Okay.
I mean, I will say too, like it was also very windy,
Yeah.
and my one booth neighbor was kind of annoying. So I can talk about that later. So this customer interaction, they were young, like they probably I mean, probably 30s. No kids with them. Maybe they could have been late 20s. I don't know. So it was a girl and a guy. Don't know if they were dating, whatever. They walk up to my booth and like they go right away to the dino lovey that I had out, the mini one specifically, because it had rainbow spikes. So for reference, that's priced at $45. And since I've done I priced it before I did any research. Nowadays, I pretty much don't do research. I just price it how I feel because I don't want to second guess myself. But I have seen other makers for the exact same lovey charge the same thing at market. So I know it's pretty it's a fair price. And so they were also interested in a turtle. Those I have priced at $13, which I think is also fair. I could probably maybe go a little bit higher, but for now I'm not going to. I'm comfortable with where it's at. Um, so you obviously you put 45 plus 13 together, you get 58. So this guy, he said to me, and verbatim, I'll never forget it. He said to me, "Would you take $50 for the turtle and for the lovey?" And that was I don't know, maybe it's just because like the day was awful already, but I took that so personally, and it also surprised me so much that someone would ask me that question, and I like it caught me so off guard I almost said yes to it. But I told him like I'm so sorry, like I can't accept that. I with the time that goes into these items and then also the cost of materials, like I can't price them any lower. And he was super understanding, and they still did buy the turtle from me. So it wasn't like it totally, you know, soured the deal for them or whatever. But it was just really offensive to me because it's like, I don't know. There's a couple different reasons. Number one, the quality of vendors that was at this event was not I don't think I'm big cheese or anything like that, like whatever. But I think like especially over the last year, I've done a lot of work with branding. I've expanded what I make. My setup's very clean, it's very professional. Like I've gotten this feedback before. Like I feel confident that I know what I'm doing and that I'm very professional about it. And the vendors that I was with, not all of them, but a lot of them, it was not the case. Like it was people who aren't really that well established. And I don't want to knock them because everyone starts somewhere, but it was not probably a market I should have necessarily been at. There were bigger markets that probably would have been more suited to both where I'm at in my business and also the types of customers I'm trying to attract. And so I was like, well, does he think like because I'm surrounded by some of these people that like that's the vibe, or does he not just understand market etiquette? Because you don't go to Walmart and tell them for this t-shirt, I don't want to pay 20 bucks, I'm paying 15. Like it's not a yard sale.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. It was just really offensive to me. And I know like it really made my boyfriend upset when the guy and the girl finally like walked away. Um, and I think too, like, etiquette or not, like I there was no way I could accept that, especially now that I'm in this store, because like that's almost a whole other turtle that I could sell and make that could potentially lead to sales, down the line if someone else sees it and likes it, whatever. And so, especially now that my time is even, I would say that much more valuable because I'm not only market prepping now, I'm also prepping inventory for the store. There was no way I could accept that. And so that was my tea. Maybe it wasn't quite what you were expecting, but it was so, I was so mad.
I can see that, especially for the items he was asking for. Like that's basically you're giving him the turtle.
Right. And like if it had been a situation where I don't know, he was buying like 5 turtles, I would have given the guy a discount. Like it's
Yeah,
not unheard of for me. Like
right.
I've done that before where they buy a certain quantity of whatever and I might knock a couple dollars off, whatever. But like for that, no.
um, that is not what I was expecting. But like I've experienced that. Um, at mostly because my mom came to the show. She's going to watch this and yell at me for this. But it was Lingelstown Christkindle Market last year, and it was, I don't know, a parent and a kid. And he said, can I like give you this amount for this? And it was lower. And before I could even like process it, my mom's like, come on, Jess, it's the holiday season. Be nice. And I was like, what?
Oh no.
In front of these people. So like I
Right, but
had
he's
to
been
accept it at that point. Like,
mm-hmm.
and then I had to explain to her, I'm like, Mom, this isn't like a yard sale situation. Like, this isn't a haggling thing. This is a business, and I'm trying to like do well with this business.
Not to mention, like, it isn't like it's some MLM where you're selling like
Yeah.
some kind of whatever, whether it's like essential oils or whatever. Like, it isn't like something like that. Like, you are an artist, like, you physically created this thing. And like, they also look like people that would respect that and like understand that. So it was just kind of mind-boggling to me that he would even dare to ask the question. I don't know. Maybe it was like, it was the first time it ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So obviously I'll grow from it, learn from it, whatever. The next time it won't shock me as much. But I think because it was the first time it ever happened, I was just like, really?
Yeah. I can see that. Just kind of have to, you're going to hate me. You just got to get over it and move
Yeah,
on to the next one.
yeah,
It's over. He's gone.
yeah. And I still got a sale out of it,
Exactly.
even if it wasn't what I wanted. So yeah,
So it's not like you turned them off. It was just,
right,
they just couldn't afford it.
right.
Do you want to talk about your neighbor?
Yeah, I also feel bad about this one because like I talked to Alex, my boyfriend, about it afterward, and he was like, I think she was just lonely. And like he's probably right. It's just hard. Like it wasn't a good day anyway. So like when you
Everything is bad. When it's a bad day for you, like it's all
yeah,
bad.
right. And so like I tried my best and like at the beginning like it wasn't so bad. Like she had already been, I imagine, long set up by the time we got there. And so we started setting her stuff up and she was talking to me and Alex, and then Alex left to go get a haircut. And then she's still talking to me, whatever, and she was nice. Like it wasn't anything bad. It was just she just wanted to talk a lot. And when I'm at craft shows, I try to save my energy for the customer and not so much for conversation with other vendors. And so there were times it was frustrating too because there would be people in my booth and like, I turn away from the conversation because when someone's in my booth, like I'm going to give them my attention. I don't like, look them in the eyes and like stare at them the whole time, but like, like just to be aware that they're there in case they have questions, whatever, say hello, that kind of thing. And like she would just keep talking, and it was like, lady, like read the room. Like when they walk away, I will gladly continue this conversation. But while they're here, like that's I'm here to make money. And I feel bad too because she did ultimately like buy some things from me. She got a turtle and a couple scrunchies. So I really appreciate that she was supportive. It was just again, it was just a hard day, and I just really didn't want to talk. Plus, like I had a lot of stuff I needed to do. I didn't have the greatest week of market prepping. I really wasn't that busy last week with it. Not because I didn't want to be. It's just right now with the school year, I just can't. Um, so I had, I think, like 6 or 7 loveys that needed embroidered eyes, and that's my least favorite thing to do. I would much rather weave in ends at this point because I can't mess that up, but embroidered eyes, I mess them up so often and have to redo them. And because I think I had so many and it's such a miserable task to me, it made it that much worse that she just wanted to like keep talking because I was trying to get it done. And it's not that I have to concentrate so much that I can't engage in a conversation, but it's like I'm doing this miserable thing. I don't feel like chatting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she was nice enough, and she had a service dog with her named Mocha, and Mocha was very sweet and cute, so I mean that part was nice. um it was just hard to find the energy to chat so much.
I
um
get that.
and obviously, like, I know I wasn't rude. Like, at no point did I, like, ignore her or whatever, but it was just hard to have that as a neighbor the whole day when it was bad. I think if it had been even slightly better day than what it was, I think I could have had more of a tolerance for it. So, yeah.
And maybe it was Alex not with you at the time.
He ended up coming back probably, I want to say around, I think he left at like 11:30. I think he came back no later than like 1:30. So he wasn't gone too long. And at least when he got there, to some extent, he kind of like fielded some of the conversation with her so that I could just kind of be in
Yeah,
my bubble. So, yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah.
Did you have any other memorable experiences?
No, not really.
Just
Anchor
happy to be over with.
Yeah, Anchor Lady was the best experience of the day. Um, well, and I should add, so last year, I think it's the owner's daughter. I don't know to what extent she plays in organizing the event, but on the day of, she's there and she's kind of like the point of contact. And last year, her dad, the owner, bought an elephant lovey from me for her daughter, his granddaughter. And so she came up to the booth and she did tell me like how much her daughter loves it and she wanted to get more for me. So then her daughter ended up coming back and she picked out a turtle. And so that was nice to at least have like that repeat customer and to like get that feedback that like it's an item that's very much treasured by her kid. And so I would say that that was another memorable moment that's worth mentioning.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm almost afraid to ask what were your profits?
You're probably going to tell me it's not that bad, but I made $156. Um, It's relative to how I've been doing this year. I'm disgusted. Um, those are first year numbers for Yellow at the Egg Designs. Although I did have one market last year where I made even less than that. I was also miserable that day. We just didn't have a podcast back then for me to talk about it. But I was pretty disgusted with that. Um, I mean, I paid for the booth fees, so there's that. I didn't go out of my way to make like anything special, like wine themed or whatever, but with having expected to make much more than double of that, basically triple of that, it was pretty depressing.
I would also be upset with that number.
Yeah. Um not happy at all. But um we can get into why I think that was, but I'm just saying, oh my gosh, wait. Ah, I just sold a bunny lovey, you guys! Oh my gosh, yay! So I we have to redact what I said earlier about never having sold a lovey at the Hive. It just happened. Yay. Okay. So
That's so exciting.
all right, so I'm done being miserable. Everything is fine now. But oh my gosh, that's so
Forget
exciting.
forget last Saturday.
Yeah, who even cares? Where was I? I don't even know. Anyway, what was I actually talking about? Because I totally forgot. Oh my gosh. Um, sorry guys.
Don't be sorry. That's
Oh,
exciting.
yay. That's so nice. And I love that bunny lovey. It's the one with the floppy ears and it's brown.
Oh,
I made another one for my booth, so I'm gonna have to make another one again to restock at the store, but that's wonderful.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. That's a good feeling. Um, Yeah. So, oh, I was gonna get into why I think the market was so awful.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
all right. So, I'm gonna try to, it'll be a little bit better now, probably me venting about it. So, May
The end of
10th,
the episode, Adriana has a whole mood shift.
correct. This is not my everyday, I promise. This is not, I'm not like this. So May 10th in central Pennsylvania, I can count on the top of my head at least seven major markets
I
on May
knew that's
10th.
where you were going with this.
Yep.
I knew it.
There were so many freaking markets this past weekend. I mean, you had Pickle Fest, I had the Moon Dancer Winery, plus there were, I don't know, like seriously, so many markets. And so I I started to have a feeling when the market wasn't going well, like, is it because there's so many markets? And then like I tried to like let it go, whatever. But then a post was made either Sunday night or Monday night by a friend of mine. She's the one that organized the event that I was at most recently up in Pottsville, the Baubles and Blooms by Lucy and Lee. Her name's Heather. We talked about her before. So she made a post saying pretty much this sentiment that organizers have got to stop adding tons and tons of markets to their schedule every single year because not only is it difficult for businesses who are trying to decide which markets to apply to and to vend at, but it's also making it difficult for customers because they obviously, who's going to seven markets in a day? I sure wouldn't. I'd be bankrupt. Like,
Hmm.
so between that and then obviously that translates into fewer sales and the number of comments of people saying like the exact same thing, like agreeing with that, whatever. Like I was like, okay, so like my argument here actually holds water. And I think that was part of the reason too, like of the vendors that were there, they were not like the big time players, I guess, in the area. I want to say like that. That sounds so snobby, and I don't mean it to. It's just like there's now like a circle of vendors that I have come to expect seeing at a lot of my markets, and it's not always the same exact people. But like there's just like certain vendors that I know that I can expect are going to be at these markets. They're well established, and I like to think that I am too at this point. And so, but they weren't there. Like they were at other markets. And like there was a market I wanted to go to up in Mechanicsburg. Um, but they had announced the market after I had already committed to this one. And I'm starting to get a place in my business where taking that risk and applying for two markets at the same time and or finding out about one later and then just eating the vendor fee, I can probably stomach going forward. But I didn't know how this year was going to go, so I didn't take that risk. And I wish I would have because the people who were at that market, it was the Evergreen Market up in Mechanicsburg, they like just raved about how wonderful it went. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. And so I know that since I mean I exist because the pandemic happened. And I know that's the case for not every business. That's not your situation, for example, but like for me and for a lot of people I know, got their start during the pandemic. I started crocheting then. I didn't start the business till 2023, but like that's the thing. And so it's only been within the last 3, 4 years that as a maker community, we've had to start grappling with not only do you have this super large supply of makers who want to vend at these shows, but now you're also getting these organizers who are popping up and they're adding more shows to their calendar and not fewer. Um, and so it's a really interesting discussion that needs to be had. I don't know how you navigate that though, because ultimately at the end of the day, every single person in this, business is looking to increase their own profits.
Hmm.
So how would these organizers possibly ever get together and say, "Hey, you can take the events on this weekend and then I'll take the ones on this one." Like I don't know how you navigate that. Um, Other than, I guess, what's gonna probably end up happening is we're gonna have to feel for a while as vendors, and then eventually the process of you might as well say natural selection is going to take place, and like the organizers that aren't consistently doing well, they're going to get fewer and fewer applicants and possibly have to reconfigure something or not organize anymore. I don't know. Um, but it was really interesting to see this discussion by someone who has more experience doing this than me. I think she's in her fourth year of events, fourth or fifth. And so, yeah.
I feel that I've seen that um in a decision making. It's like sometimes there's a show you really want to do and you're like, oh, but it's the same weekend as this other show that I'm already doing. Why are they on the it seemed like for a while it seemed like shows were always planned on the same day. And I was like, what's happening? There's like three other weekends. Or like
Right.
do a Sunday or something.
Well, I'll tell you the next day that we have this perfect storm of shows, June 14th. And guess who has a market that day? Me. And but it's like this it's the same thing. Now, I don't know if it's as bad because it's not Mother's Day weekend, it's Father's Day weekend. And I don't know how many people are taking their dads out shopping. It won't be me. Um, but like that's another day where off the top of my head, I can think of at least 4 markets that are going to be happening. See, exactly. And it's like, what about June 21st or June 7th? Like, why aren't there more shows on that weekend? So I don't know what the answer is, but I don't know.
No,
I hope something changes going forward because I
it's
am,
frustrating because
yeah.
like last year I was at a big show. I was at the Hummelstown Arts Fest, which is um a juried show. And we heard eventually throughout the day that there was also a market like right down the street at Trogues Brewery. We're like, why? Like this Hummelstown was an established, like
Mhm.
that event's been around for a while, and you're right down the street. Why? Like, why compete?
Capitalism, baby. That's why. Oh my gosh.
I don't think it's really benefiting anybody though.
Well, no, and that's the thing. Like it's like the onus, I think, like as vendors, I don't know what we're doing, like what we physically can do about it unless we unionize and start our own events. But like this girl, unless that becomes my full-time job, I'm not organizing that crap.
Heck no.
It's so much work and logistics and responsibility and like I'm not signing up for that personally. So it's really going to be the onus is on these organizers to be a little bit more responsible about when they're organizing the stuff. But again, when everything's profit driven, you can't rely on the benevolence of people. That's my econ major talking. Like it just is like that. So I don't know. So I'm a little nervous to see like what ends up happening come like I think summer, usually in July, things seem like they slow down a little bit, but then August it starts picking up a little bit more, and then September more, and then October, November,
August is really
December.
bad.
Come again?
August is really bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing that I think will save me June 14th is it's with my like top market organizer ever. They've got such a following. My top three shows are with them. So I'm personally not worried for me because I know I will. I mean, I don't want to say like I know that I will, but like three out of three, like I have a hard time imagining that like something would be so awful. Like they have this like great reputation. I don't think any of the markets that I know of on that day directly in, the York, Mechanicsburg, Lancaster area are necessarily going to compete with that. I might be wrong, but
Yeah. I think as you go on though, you're gonna learn um where not necessarily you belong, but like I've been with a couple shows now for a couple years who are well established and have been like the highlight in their like everybody knows about it kind of show. So I know when I'm in the process of searching for a show to do, I guess, if I see that it's on the date of one of these shows, I know, okay, well, I don't have to do this show. Like I'm established at this place. So I
right.
think you'll learn it as you go. It does suck. Um, because you feel like you're not getting the sales you deserve.
Hmm.
Uh, it's hard, but
Yeah, especially because it's like there's so much being invested when you show up at a market, which is part of the reason why not only did I scale back on markets this year to prioritize a little bit better the markets that I'm going to and like to kind of protect my peace, I guess you could say, but it's also part of the reason like I'm trying to get into stores too because even though you have to take the hit of the portion of sales that they're taking from you, um the amount of hours that your stuff is in theory in front of people, like I think that trade-off it can be, I think, a little bit nicer. I talked about before, like you lose the personal connection aspect to it, but um yeah, I don't know. Something needs to happen with the markets thing, but it made me feel so much better that it wasn't just me and that someone like Heather, like she's so much, bigger and more established than I am and things like that. And so it was really like, I thought it was pretty like boss lady to like make that post and it was just really interesting to see the dialogue it sparked and I highly recommend following her if you don't already. I think her content's super relatable, even if you're not like big on earrings. I'm also partial because like I've talked about before, she's a former teacher, still working in education. But I did see like an organizer I've set up with who commented and they talked about how they did cut a market from their schedule from this year. They normally run five, but this year they're running four. And I really respected them talking about how they made that decision because it is so contrary to what I feel like the current trend is right now that I'm seeing with other organizers in the area. So there's that.
with all this information, and all that you saw in reaction to that post, do you think you'll be doing this particular show again next year, or did you hear of others that maybe you think you want to look into?
There were just too many others I would look into. So Sunday the 11th was Mother's Day, and one of the boss ladies that I look up to, her name is Alex. She owns My Girlfriend's Wardrobe in downtown New York. It's a consignment shop, and she was one of the partnering businesses that organized the Mother's Day market that was in downtown New York. And that market originally before the pandemic different vibe, different thing, whatever. The city ended up canceling it after the pandemic and never brought it back. And so Alex worked to organize this market this year. And I debated applying, and I don't know why I didn't. I think part of it was because the fact that it was on Mother's Day, and so I think also like knowing like I'm taking my dad to Germany, but like my mom's not, going. So I felt like maybe I needed to spend that time with her. So I didn't apply. And then like it was like a record-setting market. I forget the thousands of pounds that Brickers went through in French fries and all of the vendors, that was their best show of the year. And it was just so popular. I mean, my boyfriend took his mom there, and there were no crocheters that he saw. So I was like, oh my God, like I literally. So anyway, so I think even if I don't book that Saturday date at any other market, I'm probably going to try to get into that Mother's Day market next year. And based on how it went, I probably need to preserve the inventory anyway and not do something the day before. So right now that's kind of my current action plan. So no, I will not go back to this market. Um, I just, at this point in my business, I can't take the risk of making that choice 2 years in a row and not having it pay off for me. And so, it's a little disappointing for me because again, I like the venue so much, but I can't do that.
Do you think also part of it could be because you are learning that you've outgrown maybe that particular kind of market?
Maybe, um, but I don't really know. So in your mind, how would you like describe, categorize whatever that type of market that I just did? Because I don't know that I have the words necessarily to put it in a specific category, other than the
Like at
fact,
a winery,
yeah,
like a show at a winery.
yeah. But like I feel like there's not necessarily anything, I guess, about the fact that it's a winery that would like signal to me expect less sales, I guess. Cause like an example would be in December, I did a show. It was on a Sunday, which is a notoriously like not as high sale volume day normally as a Saturday. And I did that at the Englewood, which is a brewery. And I feel like to
It's right down the
me,
street.
yes. Like to me in my head, those two are basically the same thing. Like in
Okay.
my head. But that market, I made over $400. I don't know.
But wasn't that a holiday market that was really amped up?
I would say it was a holiday market. I don't know how to what extent it was amped up. It was only the
They
second.
advertised pretty well for that, I thought.
You think? I don't know. I don't know if I paid. I'll be honest, December Adriana has no clue what's going on because she's so ready for break. So I don't know to what extent I might have paid attention to that, but I'll take your word for it. Neil and Sarah at Stay Apparel are wonderful. And because they're a vendor themselves, every market that they do, they work so hard to try to make it the best it can be. And so you're probably right
Yeah.
that there was a lot invested. But I don't know. I just feel like now if I take into account like the lack of advertising specifically for the market, then yes, I would agree that that's the kind of show that I've outgrown. But I guess to me, I felt like when I signed up for it, I obviously knew that because that was the experience last year. But I think last year I had less of an awareness as far as like whether or not advertising was an indicator of what would be a successful or not successful market. Um, but I guess I figured their name and their following would be enough to make up for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But
I mean, it's obviously not the reality because it didn't go that way. So clearly I got that wrong.
to answer your question, if it had been me looking at this show, I probably would have bypassed it because I would not see a big turnout.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think if I think so, and we can put it like this too. If this market would have come up on my feed and I didn't do it last year, I probably wouldn't have signed up for it because it wasn't associated with a big vendor or with a big organizer that I felt like had a good reputation.
Yeah.
But because I did it last year, not like last year, I was not picky about what I was signing up for. I was going for anything. But the fact that last year went so well made me think, like, this is a safe market for me. Like, um,
Yeah.
I must be hitting the right people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, lesson learned. Won't be doing that again. Um, but again, if last year hadn't been so successful, no, I wouldn't have signed up for this one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, you've had a lot of thoughts on this show. Do you have any more final thoughts? We know
Um,
you won't be doing it again.
No, I don't think so. It's a learning experience like anything else in life,
Yep.
and you don't know how it's gonna go. And at the end of the day, like I have to remind myself that there were people that still walked away with my products in hand. There are people who took business cards. So who's to say that down the road something doesn't come in terms of a sale, whatever, from having been at that event. And if my product, whatever, whether it was gifted or whether it was purchased for themselves, like if that brought people joy, even if it was one person, then ultimately, at least to some extent, it was still worth it to be there.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I could have said that on Saturday. So we're making
Improvement.
progress. Yes. And I'm sure by next week it'll be a distant memory.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Just move on to the next one.
Yep. Absolutely. So so like I already previewed, the next one is June 14th. It is through the Wandering Maker. They were my first organizer of the year. This will be at a new to me venue, but one that is familiar to me because it's like 3 minutes from the school where I teach in Mechanicsburg. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the turnout's like, looking forward to seeing the vibes. I can't remember if I didn't get into this show last year or if I didn't apply because it was the day before. Last year it was the day before I was going to Germany, so I think I didn't apply for it. Whereas this year it's only 10 days before I'm going to Germany, so not nearly as close. Um, and I remember last year people saying how successful it was. So I feel good. I can't believe it would be worse than this past one, and I'm not even gonna let myself think it will be. So, yeah, looking forward to talking about that when we get to it. And yeah,
Just learn and move on.
yep, exactly. So I really need to get on the loveys for that one. Because those do really well at their shows. So yeah.
That you know of.
Yes. We'll just keep assuming. Again, 3 for 3 so far. My odds I feel like are pretty good, but I'm also not a woman who gambles. So there's that.
All right. Well, we're going to take like a 5 minute break before moving on to recording the next episode. But you all are going to have to wait 2 more weeks. So it's been fun hanging out today.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Please rate, follow, subscribe to this podcast wherever you
Do
get
all
your
the things.
podcasts. Yeah, follow us on social media. Jess is at Craic Creations on Facebook and Instagram. Craic spelled like our podcast, Craic. And I am Yellow of the Eggs Designs also on Facebook and Instagram. So we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace out.
Bye.